What is going on, everyone? This is Seth from Engage Podcast, one of the co-hosts of Engage Podcast. Hope you're doing good. Hope your day's going good. We have one of my favorite episodes we've done coming up. But before I get into that, just have a few announcements. Number one, if you're a first-time listener, if this is the first time you've clicked onto our podcast, I just want to say welcome. We love interacting with all of our fans, all of our listeners, whether they've been on for a long time or they're just getting started. So if you like what you are hearing today, if you like the content that you heard, go ahead and do a couple things. One, subscribe to our podcast, whether you're listening to this on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube. Hit subscribe, and when you do, you'll get notified every time we come out with a new episode, so that way it's easier for you to find us. You don't have to look for us. It's just going to be boom, right on your phone every Thursday morning for you to indulge. Also, you could do is, if you like today's episode and you like this podcast, go ahead and leave a review of the podcast. So again, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening to my voice, leave a review. I could tell you, like, as someone who listens to a lot of podcasts, whenever I find a new one, the first place I go to is the review section, because I want to know, what do people think? Like, what are people's experiences with this particular podcast? And it's so incredibly helpful. So if you like this podcast, your soul has been fed by it, and you've been inspired and you've been educated through it, go ahead and leave your thoughts in the review section. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to, give us a shout out, go ahead and email us at office.faithpc.net. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to interact with you. We love our fans, and hopefully we hope that you love us too. Stay tuned after the episode today to find out who won our YouTube subscription campaign that we were doing, where we every person who subscribed to our YouTube channel during the summer, we put their name into a random hat. And what we did at the end of that summer is we drew a random name out of that hat. And if that person wins, hopefully it's you, they're either going to be a guest on our show, or they're going to get a free book sent by me and Pastor Anthony, again, completely for free. So if you did that, there was nothing for you to lose, only for something for you to gain. And we're going to announce who won at the end of today's episode. So stay tuned for that. Also, stay tuned for this upcoming Tuesday. I'm going to be releasing a quick update as to what you can expect from Engage Podcast in the months to come, in the rest of 2020. Today is the final episode of our Leader2Leader series, but we're not done with the series. We have something cool in mind that you can actually expect from us in September and October. So stay tuned for that update on Tuesday of next week. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, if you haven't had a chance to come out yet, you got to come out to our outside services at Faith Presbyterian Church in the back parking lot. We only have a few weeks left, but like this past Sunday, it was perfect. It was not a cloud in the sky. It was like 75 degrees with a nice breeze. At times, it even felt like a little cold. It had that fall feel to it. If you have young kids, bring them. There's a playground for them to play on during the service. Bring a lawn chair if you don't want to sit in your car. If you want to sit in your car and listen to it on the radio, do it drive-in style, boom, it's all there for you. It's so much fun, and I'm telling you, you're missing out if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet. So Sundays, 11 a.m. at Faith Presbyterian Church in Hermitage, Pennsylvania. Got to come check it out. Our guest today was such a fantastic person. Me and Pastor Anthony, we vibed with him so well. We loved hearing him talk. I know me and him, we had a great conversation before the podcast started, after the podcast started, and we did it at his establishment. His name is Talbot Reiber. I don't know if I'm saying his last name correctly, so I apologize if I just butchered that. Talbot Reiber. He is the owner and the proprietor of Talbot Taproom and Terrace in Mercer, PA. I'd never heard of this place. I'd never been there. I can tell you what, not only is it one of my favorite restaurants I've ever been to, but I have never in my life walked into a place and immediately felt at home. Like, there was something about the place. There was something about Talbot. There was something just about the whole atmosphere. I walked in and I could just relax. Like it was like I felt at home. So if you live anywhere close, like within a couple hours drive even, yes, I'm saying if you live a couple hours away from Talbot, you got to drive there and get the full experience. So we sit down with him at Talbot's. We had such a great conversation. Fantastic person to talk to. So give it up for our friend Talbot Reiber.
Podcast. This is where we take leaders in the community and influencers who are stepping out and changing the world around them. Today we have the distinct pleasure of sitting with Tal Reiber. We are sitting at Talbot's Tap Room and Terrace, located in Mercer County, Pennsylvania. How are you today, Tal?
I'm doing well, Anthony. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Nice.
And as always, we're going to kick it over to Seth. Seth, how are you today?
I am so happy to be here.
All right.
I'm so good. I've never, as I was just telling you guys, I've never been here before. Never even heard of this place. I'm in complete shock and awe. This place is awesome.
So this is clearly this is online. You can get a visual on this. But so Seth has never been here. So I'm assuming if our audience is listening right now and they've never stepped into here, they're not really sure why the shock and awe. Paint a picture if you can. And the vibe to the audience.
So, the one word I would use to describe it is cozy, I guess is the way to put it. So, like the room we're sitting in right now, it's kind of like a lower ceiling, nice wood ceiling with fans, but there's art everywhere. So there's paintings of like Michael Scott, Einstein, the Wu-Tang Clan, just paintings everywhere, and it's a very art style, theme feel to it. And then the bar over there, it's like you have like was it stone over there? Yep. Like stone walls, again low ceiling, dimly lit. It has a very nice, welcoming feel to it.
And let's not forget about the two Sasquatch standing
outside. Yeah,
us, right?
I didn't even describe what outside's like. Outside there's a nice outdoor area, which for this time in the whole COVID thing is a huge plus. Getting to sit outside and there's like two South. You have
Sasquatch's name, or the gentleman's name is Osiris Penfield, and the lady's name is Sasha McDuffie.
So how did you come up with those names?
So Osiris Penfield, Osiris was a nickname of a member of Wu-Tang Clan. So that was his first name. Penfield was like aristocratic name that would be substantial on the back end for me. Sasha, based on how she was carved, I guess. And then McDuffie comes from Julia Duffy, who played on the Newhart show in the early 90s. And I liked her when I was young, so I just added a Mick because that's how I was feeling that day, I suppose.
And are they in a relationship?
I believe so, but I haven't spoke to them specifically about that relationship.
And you do know I'm a reverend, right?
I do.
So I could marry them.
We could get that done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that we're going to keep on pushing that theme and whatever works for people to come in and get excited about it, and then we'll see where that takes us.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you just go day to day, right?
So, Seth, one of the things that stood out for Seth, and I think anyone that walks in here for the first time, it's very eclectic.
Right.
Tell us where that came from, what inspired you, maybe even pick out a handful of the paintings and kind of the background on them and why that's important.
Well, so when I started it 3 years ago, when you start anything in your life, you don't know what it's going to be, right? You have an idea where you may push that boundary to, but truthfully, you don't know. So here was, I'd always been inspired by art, and I like the answer. I like the idea because there's no right answer. Everybody's perspective is whatever theirs is, and it's correct because it's how art influences you. So I'd started with some much more tame, should say, artwork around, and then I continue to build on it with things that influence my life. So there's a Michael Jordan one over on the top, and that came from a Foot Locker in 1988 when they used to have to put ladders on top of Jordans, and then they put Jordans on the rungs, and that's actually how they sold shoes back in the day. Remember when they had to sell shoes?
I do.
Right.
Was that your first?
So I got that from a buddy of mine in 98 afterwards, but I kept it for 20 years until I was able to put it up. I was just able to put it up 6 months ago. So my daughter Romney and I pulled all these fan blades down off these fans, and we covered all the tables with fitted sheets, and then we splash painted them, and then we Wu-Tang stickers, and there's some stuff from Full House, and just most of it is what has influenced me in my life. A-Team up there, John Belushi, Einstein. My father nicknamed me Einstein when I was younger. I don't believe it was for the right reasons, but it seemed to have carried very well. Rapper's Delight in front of us. Hip-hop music has been huge for me. The movie Friday right there, Ice Cube and Chris Tucker. A Kanye West quote up there, which is, I need a room full of mirrors so I can be surrounded by winners. And I just think it's hilarious. But, if you have a good sense of humor, you and I will get along well type of thing, and that's how we pushed it there. You're My Boy Blue from, anybody remember Old School?
Oh, yep.
Right. Dave Chappelle. I did that one myself over there. That's a Banksy print, so it says follow your dreams, and it was canceled. I painted over the canceled, and I put the letters of COVID-19 up on it. So
Yeah, the dream killer.
Yeah.
So just real quick, let me break in here, because if you're listening to this, you probably heard a phone ringing in the background, and we're doing something different that we've never done before. This is Leader2Leader Restaurant Edition.
Nice.
And we're starting here at Talbot's Tap Room and Terrace, and we're actually on premise, like we're here. So if you hear any doorbells ringing or phones ringing or dishes clashing in the background, it's because we are here live on the spot with Tal.
Yeah.
So something new we're trying.
nice.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I can be involved in that. I appreciate the invite to do this.
Yeah, and this is kind of a unique restaurant. Tell us a little bit about the. We talked about the decor. Talk to us about the vibe of the menu, because you're not going to get your standard fare here.
Right. So my menu is a cheat sheet of what I've done over the last 20 years. So I would say it's a basis of the stability of what you would see. You would get your seafood, chicken, pastas, some normal-ish things. And then when I have two great chefs here right now, which I'm very lucky to have, Chef Amy Lee and Chef Bryce Stanford. So I have the ability to do some things that I've never had the ability to do before, where two people can create and listen to my crazy ideas, because I don't cook. And as far as, I do cook, but I don't do it any longer. To put these things together to be able to serve to a certain amount of people. So the ability to give an idea and let people run with it and come back with coherent dishes has been something that I'm really lucky, and we've just fell into in the last 2 years. So we're able to push the envelope where I didn't know we would be able to do so for those in this area at this time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a coherent answer or not.
No, okay, so I'm thinking of Chef Ramsay. He has that show, Kitchen Nightmares.
Yeah.
And one of the themes through all of those shows is you got Chef Ramsay going in, and everything in the restaurant's a disaster. But another theme is, once they start to put it together, there's always this fight, it seems, between the owner, right?
Yep.
And the chef.
Uh-huh.
So when you just painted a description where you're kind of running the show, and you're very creative with your ideas, then you have the chefs.
Yeah.
How do you keep the culture here and the environment where you are working together creatively, and not where it's either or, where you're fighting?
Very simple. Respect. It's so hugely important to me for my life, and to me for my restaurant. So my father is still involved. He's 70. He's done this for a long time. That's why I do it, I believe. But he still comes in on some Mondays, and one of the first questions he asks, he says, does everyone still say please and thank you to each other? And that is so hugely important, and that will never be lost on me. I wash dishes every day that I'm here for at least 2 or 3 hours. And it's because it's part of what to do, but it's part of what I've always done, and it's hugely important for how everything goes. If you can have a respect between the front of the house and the back of the house, which is what Anthony just referenced, of sometimes there's for whatever reason, there's, a division. And if you have that, where the kitchen and the front of the house staff get along, then that translates to the customers and and it's wild. And this is the best restaurant that I've ever stepped into. Obviously I am biased, but I'm in control of making that happen.
Yes.
It's based on respect.
Right, because I'm guessing here, but I'm sure that you've had nightmares in the past where you can associate with what Ramsey's trying to do, and there's this tug of war.
The hardest part of this business, and every business, not the restaurant business by any stretch of the imagination, is employees. Is getting the culture. You want to build a culture, and I talk about that when I do some of my marketing and advertising online. That's a hashtag of mine, building a culture, and it's because it's true. That doesn't happen overnight, and it happens because of respect and giving people their creative freedom to be able to do what they do and further themselves.
We have stumbled upon, Seth told me about a really cool concept that you're speaking about, the culture and building this into the culture. And he talked one time about Aerosmith when they record, and it's called Dare to Suck. And share that story, because this has helped our relationship.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that you do here. You may just call it something different, but it's the concept and idea.
It was a quote from Dan Brown, who said that one of the most defining moments in his career was he sat down with Steven Tyler and said, how do you guys come up with songs? Like what's the creative nature there? And he said they have a rule where once a week they get together and they have a meeting called Dare to Suck, which is where they bring a notebook full of ideas that they know probably are going to be terrible, that they're almost embarrassed to even share it. But they all kind of muster up the courage and they just share it. And he said, and sometimes they're absolutely god-awful. Like, everyone around the room can agree that's a bad idea. But he goes, but then there are other times where you get, songs like Sweet Emotion out of it, or Dude Looks Like a Lady. And he's like, to us, the times in our career where we had done poorly is because we didn't do the Dare to Suck meetings. Yeah. So
there's no such thing as too much communication. I preach that all the time.
It's setting the environment to where somebody can come in with an idea and be free to share it.
Yeah.
Because we do these kinds of things, and it may not be the best idea, but then we'll text each other later that night and say, hey, when you said this, I have another idea, and it just allows that freedom and creativity.
Yeah.
I like having a name to it,
yeah.
Right? And I'm hoping that if you're listening out there, that this inspires you and helps you to create that environment where there's that open communication. So it seems like one of your key values is respect, and then another key value that you actually mentioned to me before we were recording was positivity.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Well, I've always been a positive person. Let's see, going on about 11 years ago, I was in an accident. I was pulled out of a burning car right before it exploded. So I have a fake hip, titanium femur, totally crushed right ankle. I was lucky to come out, and I came out unscathed, essentially. You wouldn't know that I have all this trauma. I'm still able to walk well and whatnot. And I was a positive person beforehand, but this really helps set it over the edge of, I'm still here and I can influence people in whatever manner I choose to do so. So when I got into this, and I realized on a day-to-day basis that there was nothing more important than me walking in the door with a positive mental attitude. Because when I do, I influence every person that I see, on any given day. And now this place is caught on, and there's a lot of people that do come and come repeatedly, and we talk about being kind, and we talk about spreading love, and we talk about things that sometimes weren't cool to talk about, between two guys, hugging, spreading love, much love. Sometimes, in our society, that wasn't as open as I think it should be. So the more and more you talk about it, the more and more you can surround yourself with people that believe the same things. And it has spread, and it's, people, I'm able to now step away for a couple of days from this business when I get a chance to spend time with my family, which was hard at the beginning because I'm trying to build a culture. But now from the culture, from all the people, the positivity that it emanates, and it's been good. And I don't do it because it works. I do it because that's the person that I really am.
This is an extension of who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's part of the cool thing about running the ship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I love the independent nature of it because I don't have to answer to anybody about a question. Hey, let's do this right now. We can set this in motion today. We can start it at noon. We didn't have to make any phone calls. We didn't have to do whatever.
Just before we were here, Seth, we've been meeting outside, and so you meet outside and it's sunny, and Seth is dressing like Kurt Cobain. So it's a nice vibe, outside. So he asked me when we go back inside, what's the vibe going to be? It's like, are we going to be in the suits, and we're going to be in 90s gear, flannels? And I was like, I don't know. So, I answered him. I said, largely that's going to depend on me because they'll take the vibes from me. And I don't know what that's going to be yet. But to your point, they're I guess I'm associating with being the guy guiding the ship. It's nice to have a say in setting that tone for your organization.
Yeah, and know that you do. And it doesn't. You don't have to be pushy to do so, right? You just go in with a smile. You make a joke, and you are aware of what the other person that you're about to deal with is talking about or how they're feeling. It's just about being aware,
I can read his eyes in his mind right now.
My wife asked me yesterday, because, of course, I wore another flannel to church, and she goes, is your life goal to look like Al from Home Improvement? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you know what it is. So I have a question, just so... This place has a very young people's vibe to it, okay, and it's very unique. And like you said, it's an extension of who you are. Do you as far as the age groups of people who come here? Is it particularly just younger people, or is it a good mix of both?
No, throughout everything. I believe it started a little to be older, and then it's has grown into a little bit younger. But I don't know what my median age would be. I would say it would be maybe 35 to 49, or maybe even older.
So then what do you think it is that you do have a diversity amount of different people and different age groups that can come here and find, because this isn't a place, and I'm not saying this to be in a bad way towards people who are older, is that this isn't a place where I don't think I would see a lot of older people hanging out. But if there is, what do you think is the key to having an extension of who you are, but at the same time being so that no matter who the person is when they come here, this is a place where they can hang out?
Well, here, you are going to lead me through my answer to this because there were a couple of different parts here. So one thing I realized 5 years ago was something happened 10 years ago or so where kids became the people who chose where their parents ate. Did you notice that? So for me before, when I was younger, my dad said where we were going, and that was it. And then now me as a father, I realize that my kids influence what I do more than, and I don't know, but I see that happen with everyone around me. So when I designed this whole outside area, the idea was so adults would be able to eat here, and then I had all this space that I was going to design where kids can run around, right, and do whatever they want. And if kids like this place, then that's really... So I started to work backwards on it, and from that standpoint. But with the first thing, that if you have a good baseline of food to begin with, that's going to bring in the people. And as long as the value is there in this area, right?
Yeah, you've said this area a couple of times, man. Western PA, we like our deals.
Wait, and it's so true. So I have to make sure that my fish sandwich is around $11 and with tax and with water, and it's...
that's hilarious you mentioned the fish sandwiches, because I was going to say to you a second before that, I grew up in a house where my parents would call the restaurant on Fridays, and here was the two questions. Ready? Yeah. How big and how much?
Right? Yes, sir.
How big and how much? It doesn't matter. You could have served carp.
Yep.
And how big and how much? Yeah. So and that's the talk on the way home too.
I started that baseline in knowing that was important. So that's important for the older people, right? Let's say, and then the art and everything is secondary. They don't even care. They don't even notice it, you know. And then for the younger generation, and that stems from take the first bite with your eyes, right? So that's the Instagram, that's the Facebook, that's the foodie, that's all that stuff. So then I started to design stuff that I knew people want to come in and take pictures of. And then I just use great ingredients. And then for the people that are foodies, and then I have friends that are chefs, and then it just built into that manner. So that's how I grabbed this age demographic and this one. But my biggest focus was kids. I mean, and I know that's crazy because kids don't pay the bills. But
no, yeah.
This was my long-term plan. This is my retirement plan. So I'm worried about what's going to happen in 20 years. So, you know, kids always remember where they had fun. I had a kid, so my office door opens outside and to the back. And right in front of it is where the kids can draw with chalk. So there's a little area down there. And this little boy, in the middle of a Saturday night, he's probably 5 years old. He runs up to his sister and he says, "Hey sis, this is the best place we have ever came to eat dinner ever." And then he runs away, right? And fuel my soul for the next 6 months, you know, because that's so cool. Why I do things to make people happy that way. And that kid was happy because he could do whatever he wanted to do.
Right.
And his parents were cool with that. You know,
as a parent of myself, I have 3 kids under the age of 3. And this is something that, and it's so fascinating that you said all that, is because as a parent now, me and my wife talk about all the time, is that you never realize how many things are focused towards adults until you have kids. And then the question how it goes is like, there's only certain places where you can take your kids because they're kid friendly, right?
Right.
So it's so cool that you built a place primarily thinking about the kids. And so that, and you're so right, if you get the kids and they want to be here, they're engaged, the parents are going to be 10 times more likely to come here and stay and come back again because their kids like it.
Yeah. And then throw on top of that the food is good, you know, and that the parents do enjoy it, and that the atmosphere out on the deck, that they can sit and remember what it was like to enjoy each other's company. You know, I mean,
very cool.
Because that's hard to come by today.
Very cool.
So jumping into some standard things here, just briefly, tell us about yourself, where you grew up, kind of briefly, all that good stuff.
So I grew up in the area. I grew up in Volant, Pennsylvania. I went to New Wilmington until 8th grade. I then went to Kiski Prep, to a private all-boys boarding school, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. And that shaped everything that I did thereafter. So I didn't get in trouble to have to go there. I wasn't a bad kid. My father just asked me at that time if I wanted to do that. New Wilmington was more of a football, AC/DC, Metallica school, and I was more of a basketball, hip-hop. I was going more that direction. So I went that way. I then came back and went to Kennedy Christian. I graduated from there, North Carolina State to college, and then spent some time in Atlanta, Raleigh, learning about the business. I worked for my dad. He has a place in Butler from '98 until 2015. Purchased this place in 2016. But the biggest part of my life that I remember, no matter what has went on, is my family, like specifically my mother, my father, my sister, and myself, going out and having dinner. And the rule was you could always get whatever you wanted, but you were never allowed to get what somebody else got.
Okay.
Right? So that was like the first research and development idea in my head. And without fail, my father always got the worst meal every time. It's hilarious. And he was the guy that ran all these restaurants, and at one point he had 14 different places going, so I didn't see him very often. But I mean, the baseline that he set up for my family was great. Fast forward to now, that helps me reflect on what I need to do to be a better father in my life, to separate this business, because it can take a ton of your time. I mean, and especially when you grew up like that, watching a workaholic, so to speak. So that's helped, and these are all things that, from an independent business standpoint, I've learned in the last 3 years, and until March, with some things.
You one of the things we like to tease out is kind of your influences in your life. Who, why, what are the qualities? You keep referring to your dad.
Yep.
Say more.
There's not a person I respect more in my life than my father. From the work standpoint, how he set things up, allowing me to fail all over the place, allowing me to make my decisions, if they're good or bad, indifferent, it didn't matter. So that's where my creativity came in, and I was able to try some crazy things. I remember I used to get pre-made pizza shells, put honey on them, flour them, deep fry them, pull them up, like crazy things in the middle of service at his restaurant, and he would just let me go. And this was from a young age, you know, and then so just started and kind of rocked and rolled that way. And then different, you know, music has influenced me a lot. Art has influenced me a lot, and different thinking, different people that you meet through those things, and freedom of expression for in any whatever terms that may be.
Very cool. Very cool. So if someone were to come to you and they said, "Hey, I really love what you're doing. I want to do this too. Where do I start? What do I do?" What advice would you give them?
That's a good one. My first one would be, I hope you have a lot of money, you know, and that's not from any basis, but just truth, and then experience. You know, you'd have to do that, and then come hang out with me for a few weeks and tell me if you still feel the same way after that. You know, and then meet the right people. I don't. The knowledge would be the most important part. The knowledge and the drive, I would say. If you want to spend the time to do what you truly do love, then you can easily go after it.
What was the Gary V saying that you've mentioned it a couple times, but
he's not downplaying formal education. I'm a firm believer in that, and I think we all are. But he talks about the importance of whatever you want to do. He suggests find the most successful person in that field and pay them if you have to sleep on their couch. Sort of,
yep.
You know, referring to what you just said about come and hang out with me. He's serious too. I don't know if you know who that guy is, but he's quite serious.
Yeah, he's great.
So I said serious, and Siri just clicked on my phone. It's kind of weird. Maybe it's Gary V listening in.
He gave us a thumbs up.
Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, isn't that the best way to go about anything that you can, you know, Joe Rogan, you know, I'm sure that you pick up things from him if that's what you enjoy the most. And, you know, I mean, we watch and emulate what, you know, I was thinking about that the other day. I watch the Food Network, you know, and watch them go after things. Chopped, I really enjoy. You know, every time I watch Chopped, my wife invariably, every single episode says to me, "You could win this, couldn't you?" And she wants me to say yeah, and, you know, and she's proud of me. And I'm like, I'm not sure that I could, you know, because that's not my style of doing things. But, you know, that's more of a husband and wife story than something else. But
that show is nuts. That show's crazy.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched it? Chopped?
No.
No? Oh, it's just
a series of it starts with 4 chefs, and you get mystery baskets, and you're being judged, and then you get X amount of minutes to put something coherent together with those.
This isn't with Chef Ramsay, is it?
No.
I only watch his shows because I like how he interacts with people. So,
and I don't watch his shows because I don't like how he interacts with him and John Taffer. John Taffer makes me he makes me so nervous to watch how he treats people. I have a hard time with that.
Well, let me ask you this question. So, your kids have influenced, and your family has influenced here. You talked about the top of the blades up there on the fan.
Yep.
But on your menu, isn't there a certain menu?
A Romney salad and a Tenley salad.
Okay. Those are named after your daughters.
Yep. Yeah, my wife often reminds me of the fact that there's nothing on my menu with her name. And I said, well, we still have years and years for that to happen. I want to come up with the perfect dish.
That's a great answer. So Kirsten, that means it's not there because he doesn't care. It's there because he does care.
And I care at a high level, and I'm just working my brain to get it to that, the perfect meal.
So if someone was they're going to listen to the show, let's say they're like, we're going to Talbot's next Friday.
Yeah.
Give them, here's the appetizer, at least to try first. Here's the app, here's the dinner, here's the dessert. Hit them.
So we do fresh dough every day. So we make these things called pepperoni balls. So just think of fresh dough, chopped up pepperoni, mozzarella cheese, then they're floured, fried, and then they're baked. And then they're topped with Parmesan Reggiano, served with a little bit of marinara sauce. So that's a great start-off appetizer. See, this is tough because my goal is to write different meals every single week, right? So then you could have a Romney or a Tenley salad as a second course. Main course, I'm a big seafood guy, so I have a dish called Mardi Gras raviolis, which are lobster raviolis, a Cajun cream sauce, Gulf shrimp. That's pretty good.
And then
and then we have a litany of different desserts all the time. I think we have a butterscotch cake this week that killed it last weekend. We do creme brulee every now and again. We do creme brulee cheesecakes. And it's always fresh. I don't do any, bags of vegetables that you see, broccoli, carrots, cauliflower, you will not see that here. We did marinated cold Italian vegetable salad last week that had 7 or 8 fresh vegetables in it. We do a lot of Brussels sprouts. We use a lot of goat cheese here. We've goat cheese mousse. Have you ever heard of goat cheese mousse or had it before? So essentially put a bunch of goat cheese in and whip it like whipped cream. Comes up. And you can put it on anything in it, and it pairs with anything in the world. And we've been messing around with that lately. We had that on a flatbread last weekend with a tomato and cucumber salad. Look, if it's fresh and you do it the right way and it's seasoned, then you're good. As far as coming here, because of this, the 25% that we have going on right now, it's great to make reservations. Then you're guaranteed a spot when you come here. You can make reservations for inside. You can make it for outside. If it does rain, then that's not guaranteed outside because I only have so many seats inside. I think that people understand that. Sometimes it's hard to explain, but we just, no such thing as too much communication. And if you want to call, hey, we can drop the number, right? 724-269-7687. It's an easy way to make reservations. If you ever want to ask any questions via Facebook, via Instagram, I answer all of those messages.
Your hours?
My hours are, I'm closed on Mondays and Tuesdays now. And then I open at noon every day, Wednesday through Sunday. And either open until 9 or 10.
So you've had to change some hours and times due to the whole COVID-19 debacle,
yes.
Right? How has that challenge? How have you met that challenge head on, and how has that changed your business?
Yeah, so the logistics of changing that. So I say that things are in cycles. So I still write out checks in my checkbook, old school style, so I can keep everything and I know where all my money goes. I still haven't went to online banking, but I do that from the old school style of knowing the cycles of where all my money is. So the cycles before were, simple. There's payroll every couple weeks and whatnot. Well, now I broke it down to my cycles are a Wednesday through a Sunday. So I want to get everything in on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday as fresh as I can, and then be out of it on Sunday and then start over again the next week. So now it's broken down into 4 cycles per month instead of 1 cycle. So a lot more thinking. However, that's okay. I mean, that's what we all signed up for, and whatever we do. But I've also, my background in education was finance, so I was able to figure. I mean, and it's not telling anybody anything they don't know, but if you are able to decrease the amount of labor you have and the amount of product you have at the same time simultaneously, and be able to control that, then from a business standpoint, that's okay as well. And I've been able to figure some of that out within this, and it's been working out for us well.
Good. Very cool. So, in your opinion, what does the world need most right now?
Kindness. I've always thought that. Man, in every situation, there's a positive and a negative way to react. And if you can react in a positive manner and inspire somebody to walk away with a smile from your conversation in opposition to the other way, that the next person that they talk to, what are they gonna? It's gonna be a kind reaction and opposite of the adverse one. And I mean, I've happened to meet, and I've seen the more that I go along with that, the more people that I meet that have the same premise in life, and I've been rocking and rolling with that for a few years now. And the other part of that is, cool finds cool. When you do act that way to people, then it seems like the more people you meet that are cool and that are kind and that you can surround yourself with. I know that's not the right, business answer per se, but that's certainly how I'm fueled by that.
Yeah, I just read a tweet today that said everyone seems to have an opinion, but no one seems to have compassion. And that's compassion right now is the most important thing that we need. We don't need opinions. We need the compassion. We need people who care for other people.
Why is that? I mean, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Right? You see that everywhere. Everyone has an opinion, but there's no compassion. Why?
does somebody always want to have an answer for things instead of listening to people? I feel like that's a problem. Or not a problem, but a symptom of all of this, that we want to react and fix things, whereas some people just want to tell you their story, not for you to tell them yours as well. So we listen and you learn something about it. And that's, to me, that's where compassion starts, right? And then if it's not about other people, or you let it be about other people and not yourself, I think that's a great start to, being kind to everyone else and letting that.
It's amazing how that theme comes up in so many of these. We keep referring to the James passages about be slow to speak and quick to listen. Right?
Yep.
That covers if you have that posture, you are being kind, because you're essentially saying, I want to pause and call a time out in my life, and I'm going to show that I value you by listening to you. It's a kind act.
Yes.
And at the same time, then you're hearing where people come from. And I just don't see that a lot. I see most people just want to be right all the time. Mm-hmm. But I look at it as you're pumping the brakes and you're gathering more information. You still may not agree at the end of the day with the person, or you may agree not a little less. They may have good points in there. At least you may gain the rationale. Like, oh yeah, okay, this is why you did that. Even though I may not agree, you're setting the framework that you're a caring and compassionate person, that you're listening. And I think that says that you have a certain strength to you too, that you're not so scared and threatened by what someone else may say that's different than you.
Right. We all need to be different. I think that's what makes you want to learn about people, and then keeps you interested. I think that I've taken along or grabbed much more the concept of you do you and I'll do me since March than I've ever had in my life before, because it's extremely important. If you have a compromised immune system, then you should do everything that you're concerned about for you, and that's great. And then I'll do whatever, and we're all individual people, and I'm concerned first and foremost about myself and my family, myself, and then it branches out from there, but never. I'm never going to tell you what to do, because it's not my place. Not the right thing to do.
So, with as busy as you are, and this is to just open a restaurant in general it's a huge undertaking. What do you do for fun?
Play golf.
Okay.
Yeah, I was able to go play the Pete Dye course in West Virginia yesterday, which was unbelievable golf course.
Really?
I listen to live music when I get the chance to. I've got some buddies that have a band named Juvenile Characteristics. They're from this area. Okay. They are fantastic. They spread love at such a high level. I can't get enough of going to watch those guys. And then surround yourself with people that you enjoy to spend time with. I think that there's not many things more important than that, whoever that may be.
Very cool. Very cool. So, besides the local group, what's your name again?
Juvenile Characteristics.
Okay. Who's your favorite musical artist as of now?
So there's a lot of Wu-Tang in this restaurant.
I was going to ask if that was who.
Yeah. They influenced a lot of my musical taste. I've traveled throughout the country to see them a few times. I enjoy Tyler Childers quite a bit.
He's great.
Probably my favorite group going right now on a national basis is Trampled by Turtles. Musically, they are fantastic.
I'll have to look them up.
They're really, really good.
So, for someone who likes rap a lot, I'm always curious to find out, because I do like some rap. What is the appeal to rap? Why does it connect to you so much?
I would say the pace of the music, the upbeat tendency, and it was something that I didn't know. So if we're talking about early Outkast, Southern Playalistic, 1993, I never hung out in Atlanta. I was a Caucasian kid from Vulland, Pennsylvania, so I had no idea what that was, and for whatever reason that hit and stuck with me. Now, in the same turn, I still enjoy it, but I don't let my daughters listen to it, because I don't think that that's the thing. So I've grabbed some Grateful Dead, like younger CDs, and we listen to that, which is, I don't know. I have gravitated to that, and It's funny because I've always been a huge hip hop guy, and just this year, dude, Tyler Childers is so good lyrically, musically, that he's the first person that made me have to admit that I like country music. And I didn't like him for like 6 months based on that fact that I was going to finally have to tell people because I would never do that, Anthony. I would never tell people. So then I even had to say, well, it's Americana soul. It's not. It's country music.
Okay. No, I'm the exact same way. I've never been a fan of country music, and last year I was at my job, and when we were unloading and loading our trucks, and someone was playing a song. It was either Feathered Indians or it was Honky Tonk Flame, and I'm like, I really like this. Like, I was surprised.
Yeah.
And I said, who is this? And they told me. And I went home, immediately went on to Spotify and just started listening to everything. I'm like,
yeah,
this might be the first country music person that I'm like
Charleston Girl really got me, like in a way that I was like, this is deeply rooted in country, and I really enjoy it. Then there's the back line of rock and roll and a lot of the guitar and whatnot. And you're a guitar guy, right? Like, you enjoy. So Juvenile Characteristics, the band that I enjoy quite a bit, they have a gentleman that plays for them, Mitch. He plays electric guitar and slide guitar. So he'll have, I think it's like a 1952, and I'm not a guitar guy, Stratocaster that he plays. And he'll throw it up over his shoulder like this and then move right to the slide guitar. And there's not many people that can play both to begin with, let alone
at the same time
do this and then do this. And then in their shows, you'll have people just stop and just staring at this guy. It's well worth going to see his show just for that.
They're local, right?
Yeah. And then the Chappie, the lead singer, has as much emotion as you could ever imagine. And then rhythm guitarist is very good, Jason Hummel, Jason Sample, bass guitarist. I mean, they're very well put together as
I'll
a
have
band.
to check them out.
And I'd like to say that I'm also helping them out with this plug based on the fact that every show that I've went to of theirs, they've given me a plug for my restaurant for no reason. And I even say, I don't even pay these guys. I don't even pay these guys anything, but it's about spreading love and being cool. I mean,
shout out.
Yeah, why not?
Couple more questions.
Yes.
You have certainly a lot of background, a lot of endeavors. Not all have been successful.
Mm-hmm.
Share with us a time you've done something, failed, what you learned from it, how you recovered.
I'll spin that. So I had a consultant asking me some questions about 6 months ago. He was going to go to a show for one reason or the other, and he asked me a question, and I said, my mother, my father, my sister, and myself sit down every week, and we come up with specials for the restaurant. In 20 years of having those conversations, never one time did we say, well, what if this doesn't work? Never. Because if it doesn't, it doesn't matter. Because all that you do is it just sells a little less or whatever it is, and then you move on the next week. You'll take that out, and then you move on. So in opposition of thinking about what the failure may be, we just don't even talk about that or whatnot. And I mean, so I would say in my terms of failures, I mean, I've made some poor financial decisions with, products and whatnot, but as a whole, my biggest success was when I stopped drinking 11 years ago, because if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have all this, because you realize that makes it for me, it made me make poor decisions, and I've seemed to make a lot of better decisions since I stopped doing that.
Okay, so I got a question here I want to end with. That if I gave Talbot, depending on the people, the person that we're sitting down with, we always give a list of questions. Sometimes they don't read them, sometimes they don't care to, or sometimes people really want to have all their answers. But Tal looked through this list, and then I took the paper off him, and I said, "There's one question that I don't want you to look at, and it's this one, because I want to hear your kind of reaction to it." If you were able to go back in time and you meet the young Talbot at, let's say, 15 years old, what advice would you give Talbot?
It's deep. Not too many questions get me to have no concept of how I'd possibly even be able to answer them, and that might be one of them. I mean, I would just kind of piggyback on what I just said, and that was by no mistake that I would probably attempt to not start drinking when I did. I think it's relevant to this because of this being the restaurant business. I mean, I've seen a lot of people affected in very, very poor ways by drug and alcohol that come through this because of how this business is set up, per se. You know, it's goes to some education, some not, but it's readily available, and it can become a part of life. So for me, I know that I'm able to, when people want to ask and if they want to talk about it, why I stopped or how I stopped. You know, I had to stop at the moment, and I'll tell a quick story and then we'll go from there. So my father at one time had asked me, he said, "Have you drank since you were in your accident?" And I said, "I have 2 times." And he said, "All these years, and I thought you were a lot smarter than that. Evidently, you're not smart at all. I'll make it very easy. If you ever have another drop of alcohol, I won't give you any part of any business." And I've never had a drop of alcohol since he said that. And that was kind of what I needed to hear at that time, you know, for whatever reason, if that was my rock bottom or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So if I would like to, you know, I don't know. I think that's all that I have on that. I would like to be able to know to make better decisions later in life. I don't have a good one for that, Anthony. I apologize.
No, there's nothing to apologize about. That's why I kept it off the paper.
Yeah, that's tough. That gets my mind working.
It's fascinating. I don't know what I would answer. Well, I kind of do now, only because I get to ask the question 100 times.
Yeah.
But if I was cold turkeyed with that, I don't know what kind of answer I'd give.
Yeah, I didn't give a very good one.
It's just so, but the good thing is the listeners can now think of that, and then you now can start.
Yeah, right.
I know you're going to think of it.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
So, well, listen, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I think that's a great place to end. If you live in the area, come out and see Tal at Talbot's Tap Room and Terrace. It's in Mercer, PA. Or if you don't live in the area, I know he dropped the phone number. We'll put that in the comments too as well.
Yep.
But I think you'll need to make a reservation. But look, you if you've never been here, you're missing out, because this place has an awesome environment. It's got food, and food is always the star of the show, and it's going to create a memory for you. So come out and see Talbot. As always, this is Anthony Cloditis, today not sitting at church, but here at Talbot's restaurant. And this is Leader2Leader podcast, and we look forward to our next episode next week.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
All right. Was that not a great episode? Was that not a great episode? I mean, I love Talbot to death. I got to get back there as soon as possible. It was just, oh man, just listening to it again was fantastic. All right. Ready to find out who won? Okay. Drum roll, please. I feel like I'm in Christmas Vacation. Missy Davies. If you are Missy Davies and your YouTube account has a picture of, I think it's a heart that says God is good. If that is you, my friend, you won our YouTube subscription campaign that we had. So go ahead, shoot us an email at office@faithpc.net. Let us know that you acknowledge that you won, and we'll get you either on the show if you live close, or we'll send you a book completely for free. All right, that is it. That's the winner, Missy Davies. Congratulations, and I hope to see you either on the show, or I hope to get in touch with you. But that is it. Have a great week. Don't forget, stay tuned for Tuesday to find out what the updates are on this podcast for the rest of the year. I hope you have a great day. I don't know why I'm talking so loud and so fast. I guess I'm so excited. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless.